Welcome to Psychonauts 2. Let's talk about the opening cutscene. So, this opening cutscene is widely regarded as great. It's got a lot of technical and artistic merit. We're going to go over some of that. But I'm going to argue that it's not just great. I'm going to argue that it's damn near miraculous. And I know that sounds like I'm overselling it, but this cutscene is doing something deep inside your brain that you might not be aware that it's doing. Psychonauts 2 has an extremely important flaw, a landmine right at the entrance, ready to blow away any player trying to play it. And that is, it's not Psychonauts 2, it's Psychonauts 3. There's a VR-only title between Psychonauts 1 and Psychonauts 3. So you come in expecting to be playing Sweet Summer Raz from the end of Psychonauts 1, and no, this is a Raz that's been on more adventures. He's an official Psychonaut. Things have changed. I didn't sign up to play Psychonauts 3. I wanted to play my Sweet Summer Raz. Why did you change things without my permission? I feel so betrayed. And I know that there were some people that were thinking that before they played the game. I was one of them. I really wasn't looking forward to a game that was a sequel to a VR game I couldn't play. But this cutscene defuses that bomb with such grace that you stop even realizing that you were going to be upset. You don't realize how close you came to becoming upset. And that takes a lot of skill. That happens right at the beginning, so that's what we're going to discuss first. The first step in making sure that we feel comfortable in new Raz's shoes is to downplay the VR game. It's still, it's still part of the canon, but they downplay the importance considerably and make it sound more like it's an introduction for an introductory tutorial sequence rather than a game that we missed. They're very careful not to talk about any of the life-changing things that Raz went through. They don't even mention the fact that he saved his girlfriend's father or that he became an official Psychonaut. They're very careful to downplay all of it to the point where it's like, oh yeah, yesterday we did some stuff, and today we're going to do the tutorial mission that's based on that stuff. That's what happens right now. Let's take a listen. By the way, I put this in VLC so that we can rewind and fast forward
Truman
and stuff.
Zanotto, the grand head of the Psychonauts, was kidnapped. Yesterday, with my help, the Psychonauts rescued Truman from the underwater lair of Dr. Loboto. But trust me, there's no way Loboto is working alone. Today, we're on a mission. Find out who hired Dr. Loboto to kidnap Truman Zanotto. My name is Raz.
Alright, so here's where the cutscene begins in earnest. You can tell because that's the trailer line. So, we've just gotten the backstory about the game we missed, and it's presented like it's just a little thing, introductory, an introduction for the cutscene. It didn't change Raz in any way. He's still the same Raz. It's only been a couple of days, right? In addition, this rat plays an important role. We'll talk about this whole thing now, because the second half of this proposition is that they take the thing that we're concerned about and they go way too far with it as a joke. Oh, look how different Raz is. He's all super corporate now, and the Psychonauts are all an insurance company, and it's all super duper corporate and boring and bloated and, no fun. But the whole time they're making sure that we realize that it's a joke. So they do this using, initially, a Brad Bird deflate technique. I'm sure he's not the only person that uses it, but he uses it in all of his movies. It's where you have really impressive music and camera angles, and it builds up to a flat nothing. With the Incredibles, for example. Oh, look at Mr. Incredible. He's so incredible. And then it cuts to him working at an insurance company. This is the same basic technique. It's used in a lot of places. I'm going to rewind a little bit so you can really get a feel for the full unfolding, but really pay attention to how it squeaks to a complete halt.
We're on a mission. Find out who hired Dr. Loboto to kidnap Truman Zanotto. My name is Raz, and today is my first official day on the job.
Feel that? That is a really classic deflate. It works fantastically, and it really lets us know that this scene is not supposed to be impressive to us. We're not supposed to think, oh yeah, this is the best possible Raz. What they're doing is they're building up a version of Raz that is a joke. And then when they deflate from that, when they puncture that joke, they don't rewind all the way back to summer camp Raz. They rewind to intern Raz. But the distance is much shorter between summer camp and intern than summer camp and weird corporate, you know, Psychonauts headquarters place. So because that distance is so much shorter, we feel pretty comfortable. We realize that, oh, the change is not really that significant. We're still very comfortable in Raz's shoes because they went super, super far as a joke and then backed down. We're going to see them now build up the reality of the joke so that it will really sell it. And we had to have that deflation so that we know that this is not like the main selling point of the game. We're not actually going to be in this corporate office for the game. But they still have to build up the reality of it enough to let us feel when they puncture it. To do that, they're going to be using music and cuts and timing. This is really a well-done way of making us feel like this reality exists. The way that they do this is by making Raz feel uncomfortable with the reality. By showing Raz attempting to cope, they can not only make the world feel more real, but they can make Raz feel more like he originally was. They can make him feel like Summer Camp Raz, because we get to see him make Summer Camp Raz-like judgments about the reality that he's currently stuck in. There's some music, there's some distractions, and...
Everything okay in here, Raz?
So I really enjoy this part of the skit. At this point, they're selling us on a sort of Brazil-style unreality, a disconnected reality. Lily is acting a little bit strange, and she doesn't actually respond to Raz's questions or anything. She's just being kind of disconnected in a way that you might be with a corporate coworker, even though Lily is literally the person that's closest to Raz, period. And that really helps to sell this strange dystopian feel, and we know that because Raz is uncomfortable in this situation, he's the Raz we're comfortable with. Now, it is incredibly important to sell this reality so that the player stops thinking about the rest of the game. They need to draw the player into this scene to the point where they don't realize that this is a setup, because that is the big trick of Psychonauts 2. They use this all the time. We'll probably bring it up in every single cutscene. Psychonauts 2 has tons of twists, and they're all terrible, right? They're all very basic. But you don't see them coming because you've been lured into the reality of the scene. Even if you know what the twist is and that it's coming, by the time it comes, you've forgotten that anything outside of the scene exists. And now if you've never seen this scene, well, I'm talking through it. I'm kind of ruining the effect. But chances are very high that by this point in the scene, you've already forgotten that Dr. Loboto was even a thing. Like, you're thinking about, why is Lily acting like this? Oh, this is strange. It's kind of funny. What's going on? Little jarring sweep with a noise to make sure we understand that Raz is discombobulated because it's from his perspective. And now he's going to try and connect to Lily.
Hey, Lily. Yeah, I don't know. It's just... I've dreamed about working at Psychonauts.
And now Lily is going to say one of the best lines in the game.
Be more, you know?
Come on, we're going to be late for the morale corral.
I love that line. Because it's completely disconnected. Like, he pours his heart out to his girlfriend, that his girlfriend's like, yeah, whatever, come on, we gotta go to the morale corral. It's Taco Tuesday here at work. I really think that helps to sell the scene, and it's something I really laughed at the first time. Also, these characters are so tiny, and they're carrying around these oversized mugs and stuff. It's great. Oh, the rat was also a way to help to sell that particular deflation. If you didn't get the pacing of it, you can go back and watch it again.
That's how we managed to raise profits.
So this is great. See that?
The 900%.
So what they did is they're trying to sell the reality of the scene, and to do that, they're leading into the individual elements very, very gently. They start with audio.
And that's how we managed to raise profits.
Then we cut to the back of some people as an establishing shot that, you know, we don't really know what's going on yet, but this place exists. And then we pan up and we get to see Coach Oleander performing on stage as he does. The fact that we have a blowhard to put up on stage is incredibly vital because it means we have someone to draw the attention. We have someone to be a blowhard. If we had started with like Mia up there, it would have been more serious. By having a blowhard up there stealing all the attention, we can really sell the fact that this is a terrible corporate joke. This is like not a place anybody would want to work. It's got the worst possible co-workers standing up on stage giving speeches in the most corporate possible, cringeworthy way. And Coach Oleander absolutely sells it. And that's actually his in-world reason for participating here. He's doing that in-world. He's also doing it for the player. The player gets that same effect. But this is not something where Coach Oleander is being himself. He's performing for someone we don't understand yet. We'll get to that in a minute here. But the fact that he gets to stand on stage and be annoying is a perfect use of him. It really helps to cement the scenes. This is a very sort of, it reminds me of Brazil, really. The way that they try and sell this corporate nightmare.
This corner. That's right. Thank you.
And that brings us to our next topic.
Sasha, still have the talking turtle?
I like that joke a lot. That really sells the corporate cringe that they've got going in this particular situation. Now, by now, you're probably sold on the reality of the scene.
Like the clapping.
You've probably forgotten that there might be something going on, and you've definitely forgotten that Lobato exists. You're interested to know what's going on, but you're not thinking in terms of, oh, well, who are they going to reveal or any of that. You're thinking it's going to emerge naturally from the scene. And then we've got some giant-headed kids.
Prize for this year's award is an all-expenses-paid tropical vacation.
You're like, whoa, this is strange. What are they talking about? And here we can see Coach, again, selling the scene. Coach's whole point for existing in the cutscene is to be the obnoxious coworker that nobody likes. That's his reason for being in the scene in-game as well, and I think that's really fun.
It's me.
The winner of this award may be one of our newest members.
So by now, you're probably thinking, oh, they're clearly talking about our main character, clearly, because who else could they possibly be describing?
But he's also one of our most improved.
And they sell that with a close-up on Raz, and he's going to dust himself off.
Congratulations to Caligosto Loboto.
The subtitles kind of ruin it, but
What?
that is an astonishingly good reveal, especially if you don't have subtitles on. This is one of those things that is extraordinarily hard to pull off. It requires an astonishingly good tempo. It requires, you have to pull the audience into the scene so strongly that they forget that Lobato exists. You explicitly said that this whole thing, that all of today, is about finding out who Caligosto Lobato works for. But you get pulled into the scene enough that you forget it exists, and then when it comes up, you're like, oh! And then, of course, they really sell it by having him burst out of the crowd like that. I laughed so hard the first time I saw this scene, and I'm sure I'm not the only one.
Way to go, Cal.
Once again, he's selling himself as the annoying coworker, and now you realize that he's actually, like, in-world, he's acting like an annoying coworker. Sure, he's annoying in reality as well, but the reason he's here is because they needed an annoying coworker. I think that's really fun.
Jealous.
I've never won anything. I've been on a vacation.
So I really enjoyed that line. There was a lot going on there that you may or may not have noticed. Clearly they wrote that line for that particular voice actor. I don't know how many voice actors would have been able to sell that particular double beat, but let's listen to it one more time. Listen to something that's not his voice.
You're gonna love this vacation package. I'm jealous.
I've never won anything. Oh, been on a vacation.
Did you hear that sting between the anything and the or? They use music like that throughout the scene to really help support the delivery of these lines. It's sometimes very heavy, and sometimes it's almost something you don't notice, but either way it really helps to pull us into the scene, to convince us of the reality, to sell the emotional context. It's really hard to overstate how powerful these deliveries are, both in terms of the voice actors and the music. It's not just writing here. There's a lot of artistry on display.
I don't have to go on a boat, do I?
No, darling.
Woo!
All you need to do is get this vacation request approved by your supervisor.
At this point in the original time I played, I was laughing so hard. This is a really fun way to present the idea. You know, we need to find out who Lobato works for. So what are you going to do? Well, I just have to make sure that he has to get a signature from his supervisor.
What?
Just a formality. You just need to get this form signed by your boss.
And this really helps you to understand how the Psychonauts
Yes,
operate.
darling.
And it's
Or you
really...
could just tell us who your boss
I love this
is, and we
cutscene.
could...
No.
Maybe he doesn't want this tropical vacation after all.
Get back. I want it. I'm Employee of the Year.
Yes, you are, darling. Now off you go. Get that form signed by your boss.
The person who hired you.
The person you work for.
Really selling it now.
Okay.
Hurry up, before I take that vacation myself.
Rasputin?
I'm on him.
This is the end. Just pops on and then he's done.
Keep up with...
So I wanted to point out one more thing before we stop. You see these little decorations in the air, floating in the air? These? That particle effect is a very minor point, and I'm not sure anybody would bother to talk about it if they hadn't done something similar. That's one of the techniques you can use. You can see it's always on in the background here. It's just an always on particle effect. It's one of the techniques you can use to help sell space. If they hadn't put that in, then that background there would feel super empty and flat and obnoxious. But because there's always a little bit of dust in the air, it really helps to sell it as a lived-in space that actually exists. Those kinds of small details, we could go on all day about them, but I think that it's okay if we end it with just that one, because we covered the things I wanted to talk about. I really wanted to cover how they minimized the VR game and how they minimize the changes to RAS by going too far and then backing off. And then I also wanted to talk about how they sold the reality of the scene strongly enough that you would forget that it was the setup for a joke. And then, of course, they deliver the joke. I really enjoyed this cutscene. Absolutely top-notch cutscene. A+. And I know that this was the work of, many people, and all of them did a spectacular job. This was the moment I realized that maybe this game was going to be pretty good. And it is. So, if you haven't played it, now would be a good time to go play it. See you around.